Hey, what's going on? Welcome to another episode of Hanging Out with Nolan Hong. And joining us this week on the podcast is somebody that you probably have either heard her name or seen her around if you've ever done anything in theater, because she has been just an absolute legend and mainstay in local theater. She's the Learning Center coordinator at Kaimuki High School Performing Arts Center. It's none other than MJ Matsushita. MJ, welcome to the
Hey,
show.
how's it?
MJ, before we get into anything, I tell you, your title is a mouthful. It's super long. What exactly is your is the Learning Center coordinator at Kaimuki High School Performing Arts Center do?
Uh, well, like I said earlier, it's actually one of the lesser titles that I have. Learning centers within the Department of Education is that we are a separate entity that is hosted by the high school. So we are a learning center
Oh,
specifically using performing arts as the vehicle to educate students. There's many different kinds of learning centers, but there's only 27 learning centers in total on the state of Hawaii, and there's only 5 on the island of Oahu.
wow! I had no idea. This is news to me. That's so interesting. So,
Yeah.
so you're actually you're part of, like, would it be possible that you would work with the other performing centers as well, or
Well, we're kind of the 5 that we have here. We're kind of well, it's a small island, and we all intermingle for everything, you know. So
yeah,
Karen over at Castle High School, you know, we exchange students back and forth for different shows. I'm borrowing costumes from her. She borrows set pieces, you know, all this kind of stuff. So it's very much a we're interwoven yet
yeah.
slightly competitive event.
I can imagine. So I was gonna ask you this question, and I feel like you're probably gonna not know the answer, but I'm gonna throw it out anyway. Can you count how many um, theater shows you have been a part of in your career? Because I feel like
Just
every show I've
here.
seen, you've been a part of it, whether it's set design or
Mm.
production, all that kind of stuff.
Well, here at Kaimuki, we do 2 shows every year, which I'm the producer and set designer and whatever else needs to get done for those. And then Manoa Valley Theater is I've been working with them for the last several years, and I always do their summer shows
Yeah.
um, as the set designer and assistant technical director and whatever else I got to get done for those particular shows. I've worked at Diamond Head, worked at UH, did some shows from Hawaii Theater for Youth. So as for a number, no idea.
I didn't think you would have a number, but if you did, I'm sure it'd be in the hundreds. I'm assuming, just because
Probably
it's
around
been.
there.
Yeah. When did you start working in theater? Like what year? Like how many years ago? I guess.
That would be probably my first year in college. So that would be in 1983.
Wow.
Yeah,
So you
back
just
then.
surpassed your what is that, 40th year in theater?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, so about
Crazy.
40, let's see. Yeah, 40, 41 years in theater.
Man,
And I was accidentally in that show, in that production. And
really?
I was a music major when I first got into college.
Oh, really? What did you want to do with that major initially?
Well, I figured that I was going to end up teaching high school band.
Ah, I see. And then how did you accidentally get involved in this? And what do you remember which show it was?
Yeah, the Glass Menagerie.
Ah,
My
okay.
boyfriend was the lead character in the show, and the director got tired of me hanging around at rehearsals. So he put me on crew running the
No way.
slides. Um, and then I would audition for shows after that and
Hmm.
not get cast. So instead of being in the front, I would always go in the backstage because at least it was being a part of it. And it just, you know, kind of snowballed from there. Got rid of the boyfriend, stayed the theater, and
Wow.
then music just wasn't as much fun.
Hmm.
They really want you to perform, and honestly, in my heart, I'm not a performer. I'm
Right.
definitely more of a hands-on, let's build stuff and paint stuff kind of a personality. And so, yeah, I just got in more and more into technical theater. And yeah, 40 years later, I'm still doing it.
Holy smokes. What was it about theater that drew you to it where it was fun and it was something that you wanted to be a part of so much that you dedicated 40 years of your life to?
It's always different. You're always learning something different. I'm always
Oh,
learning about a different culture, a different design style, a variety of different things like that, different painting technique, different building technique. Um, I can hide in the darkness, or I can be up in the light booth and I can watch the show if I want to and just run the lights if I have to, and that kind of thing. So it's definitely the non-repetitive yet repetitive nature of theater.
right. You're mentioning about being able to be creative with the design and building. Where
Yeah.
did that come from? Were you doing things of that nature just on your own, like as a child? Like, where did you get that, I guess,
Yeah.
experience from?
Yeah, I'd say from my dad. I mean,
Okay.
both of my parents were the kind of family that we very seldom just didn't do anything. We were always,
Mm,
my dad was always doing ceramics when he wasn't preaching because he was a minister. And, my mom was always doing her other kinds of hobbies around. And so it was like, it was never a time when we weren't actively doing something. So we just kind of grew up with that kind of a nature. Um, I do have times when I need to sit around nowadays, but even so, I'm
yeah.
usually doing two or three different times at the same time. So
Oh,
we were
wow.
always a multitasking family.
What was it like growing up in a household where your dad is a preacher?
Yeah, it was interesting. I mean, my mom was also a minister later in life, so I'm a double PK. It has a whole nother set of issues along with it. I mean, there's two places that people always say that you want to bring up kids. You either want to bring them up in the church or you want to bring them up at theater. You very seldom do both. But they have very similar ways of always doing something. There was always action involved. I mean, if you grow up in the church, and especially if you're me, who rebelled against most of the stuff that was going on over there, but you still had to go to the meetings, and you had to go into a youth group, and you had to do all of this kind of stuff. So if you wanted something done, you ask somebody who's involved in church, and they jump up and they get it done. And theater
Hmm.
is very much the same thing. It just doesn't have the religious aspect to it.
Did your parents know that you had this, rebellious side, and how did they, if they did, how did they handle it?
My mom was always disappointed.
Oh,
But it wasn't just me. I mean, when we were planning out my dad's memorial service years and years ago, she was always saying that it was always a disappointment that none of the kids went into the does anything with the church anymore. It's like, well, that's
hmm.
because you inundated us with church when we were kids, and we paid our dues.
How many kids were there?
I'm at a family of five.
Wow.
I'm the bottom. I'm the baby, so I
No
got away
way.
with a lot more than they did.
Yeah.
By the time my rebellious nature came through, they were kind of over it already.
Yeah.
My oldest brother and I, however, so both ends of the spectrum, we're the only two biological. The three in the middle were adopted.
Oh, wow. That's interesting. Where were they adopted from? Was it from other countries or from within the United
Yeah,
States?
both. My sister came from China,
Hmm.
and my second oldest brother was born in Honolulu. He was Chinese Haole, and my parents adopted him from birth. They were just given a phone call and said, "We have this boy that needs a family. Would you do it?"
Wow.
That was back in the day.
Yeah. Was there even like paperwork involved, or was it
Yeah,
just like, yeah, send
yeah,
them
there
over?
was there was paperwork, but the person who knew that my brother needed a family. They knew my folks, and so that's why they called them up. There's
Yeah.
probably more to it, but that's what my mom always told us. My
So
third
interesting.
brother is was born in Honoka'a,
Hmm.
and he was removed from his family for a variety of different reasons. So he actually came into the family when he was, I think, 3. Yeah,
Okay.
and
So still
so
still young enough though, where he got to
yeah.
grow up with you guys.
Yeah, and my folks were missionaries over in Honoka'a at that time at
Oh,
the
okay.
Methodist Church. And so it was my three brothers in Honoka'a. Then their next parish was over in Molalla, Oregon, and that's when my sister came into the picture.
Holy smokes! So they were they the three adopted. Wait, so it's oh, so your brother first, and
Yeah. Then two
then the
adopted
two
brothers,
mhm,
then my sister, and
sister.
then me.
So were you born in Oregon too, or were you
Yeah,
born? Oh, okay.
yeah. I was born in Portland, and
Ah.
my parents figured that they were done with having
Hmm.
kids, and then surprise.
And you'd mentioned that when you do what you love about theater and set design and stuff, one of the things you mentioned was, learning different cultures and how to implement that into the designs and whatnot. Do you feel like this mixed culture of a family experience of travel and also having your adopted siblings and stuff, do you think that's where maybe the interest and the attraction to being interested in the multicultural aspect and wanting to you know I guess put it on such a display
Mm.
like theater?
Well, could be. I also have a feeling that part of it is just being mostly out of Oregon because we're so milk toast in Oregon. I mean, there's no accent or anything there to be of interest. So it's like I needed to bring other cultures in to make life more interesting.
So how did you make your way to Hawaii then, from Oregon?
Grad school. So
Oh,
I graduated from Portland State University in '87, and then I went out to University of Iowa for a year of graduate studies out there. And after the first year, they decided they didn't like me, and I really didn't like them anymore. So my parents at this point had retired to the Big Island and lived out in Kau area, Paradise Park. And they
mm-hmm.
said, "Well, come out here and go to the University of Hawaii." So it's like, okay. So I shipped my truck and everything over here and got accepted into the grad program at UH and met my husband in that whole process. And we got married like 4 months later.
Wow, 4 months.
Yeah, well, his parents knew my parents. And
Uh-huh.
so when I was moving to Honolulu, they said, "Well, can somebody pick her up at the airport and take her to this other location?" They called his parents and he'd pick me up at the airport. And well, that's how that all worked out.
The rest is history, huh?
Yeah, and the thing about marrying an only child who's Japanese is that once you're married, you can't leave. So I was not allowed to move the family to anywhere else aside from
Yeah.
Honolulu. So we are have been kind of stuck living here in Honolulu for 35 years now.
Did if it were a different scenario, would you have wanted to, move back to Oregon?
Yeah, I probably would have. Had never had any intention of living in Hawaii long term.
Oh, wow. That's
Oh,
interesting how it turned out.
yeah, wanted to work at a university somewhere and just not out here. But it worked out all right.
Yeah. So, you mentioned about how you, you know, just kind of how the way you fell in love with theater and such. Um, and I'd heard that you said that being raised, if you're a kid, you want to be either raised in a church or the theater. That was interesting. What about, I guess, the environment of theater do you feel is would support that argument? Because I asked because for our 16-year-old, a couple of years ago, he did a little theater program over the summer, and it was like life changing, and just the things that he experienced. And so I'd never assumed that kind of experience could happen, but now
Mm.
I'm a believer. So I'd love to get your perspective in what supports that, and what kind of experiences children have being raised in the theater.
It's mostly exposure to all kinds of different things. I mean, you get to meet a wide berth of people, you know, personality types, skill types, and all these kind of things. And anytime that I mean, my kids grew up learning how to use tools because as soon as they were
Mm,
able to, they were in painting sets and building scenery and all that kind of stuff and learning all the backstage stuff. They were both in dance, and so when they weren't rehearsing, they were over there. They were with us in whatever we were doing, and just they learn a certain disciplinary program when they're in theater. I mean, you have a deadline. You have to get this done by this particular
right.
time, so you have to work on all these small steps to get to that deadline point.
Hmm.
And so there's a structure that happens, but it's a huge structure that's up here that not everybody realizes until they said, "Oh, now I see it. Now can see
Yeah.
how everything just intertwines and works up together." So they learn a lot of the inner workings on how things can happen a little bit at a time, and how
Mm,
everybody really joins in to make this whole mysterious thing happen, and then
yeah.
the accolades of the audience.
See, that's so interesting because that's something that we, as a society, struggle with now. Like everyone wants everything instant, like now, now,
Mhm.
now. Yet in theater, you get to still learn the values of taking your time and piecing things together and being intentional.
Yeah, and everybody contributes, and
Hmm.
everybody's contribution is important.
Yeah.
And there's a lot to be said for that importance. A lot of kids that I see nowadays, especially here at our schools and such, they don't have that self and a knowledge of what they're doing is important.
Mm,
And if they do these 5 things in this class, it's going to help 10 things in these other classes. And so making those connections is something that a lot of them are missing. So when they come into my technical theater class, I tell them, you guys are going to be doing math. You're just not going to know that you're doing math.
ah,
And so, yeah, they're doing, all these, working with fractions and measuring and all this kind of stuff and how everything works in. And then suddenly it's like, oh, we did that over in this other class. Now it makes sense.
mm,
And same with social studies. We take the research, and even though they may not be working in that time period over in their research, in their social studies classes, sometimes every once in a while things will click in together and they'll see how the connections can be made. Um, so I keep telling the teachers over here that you guys are teaching the theory, we're teaching the application of your theories.
right.
And so hopefully the kids will get that light bulb and say, oh, okay,
Yeah.
got it.
Do you feel that the supporting, I guess, the society or the departments understand that, and appreciate that? Because there's been so much said about, a lot of schools are doing away with performing arts or not seeing the value of the music programs and such. Do you feel like at least there's a chance that they're starting to see these examples of how important it can be?
Yes and no. If you were to ask a lot of the teachers on campus, they know what we do over here,
Hmm.
but they haven't ever come over to see what it is that we actually do. Like
Ah, I
they don't
see.
come to my class
Yeah.
and see that the Rube Goldberg machines that we're making in tech theater is all physics. They kind of
Yeah.
hear about it, but they're busy, so they can't make it over. Um, and we keep, whenever they come and see our big productions and stuff, there's like, wow, how did you guys do that? I don't know how you made this all happen. It's like, well, if you come over and look, then you can see these kids who don't do squat in your class are
Yeah.
working their butt off on stage in my class to make this happen. So we're losing our art teacher again this year. And I don't know if
Oh,
we're going to have art classes offered. And it's all because it comes down to money. We do have a band teacher, and he's working really hard to get all of that together. And we're trying to get everybody to understand music is everything that they want the kids to do,
mm,
and what I'm doing is everything that they want the kids to do. We just go about it in a different way
yeah.
to get to the same result.
Hmm.
And sometimes the kids just need to have fun.
Yeah. And it just seems that in the traditional, classroom settings, there are those students that just that doesn't fit their nature or their
Yeah.
learning style. But in a classroom like yours, where it's hands on and working together, like that's where their strength and passions lie. And it's great to have that variety to
Mhm.
appease all different learning styles.
Yeah. We had one kid last year who unfortunately had to move to another school, but he was coming to my class, and then he was a summer intern for us when we were doing uh, Once Upon One at a Time for MVT this summer.
Hmm.
And once he figured out, I mean, I can use all these tools.
Yeah.
Okay, and you're going to trust me to cut stuff, and I can build stuff. Then it's like he went from barely knowing how to measure at the very beginning to being able to read a full on drawing and construct that item without us hanging over his shoulder to tell him what to do.
Wow.
So he was measuring and he was cutting and everything fit. And you can just see that his confidence in himself just went from here to way up here in the space of a year because everything that everyone's telling him, you don't get this math stuff in the math class,
Right.
he was doing in our class.
That's so cool. Well, I'm so glad that you have this platform to reach the kids that you do over there. And you mentioned that you do two shows per year at Kaimuki, and I
Hmm.
understand. So, is that just for the first semester and the second semester? Is that how it works?
Generally, we do a haunted house in the first semester,
Oh, okay.
and that takes 2.5 months to build
Yeah, I
and
can
do. So
imagine.
it takes up the whole
It's a
semester.
Yeah, it's a pretty big deal over there.
Yeah, we fill up our whole stage with anywhere from 10 to 12 rooms, and then each room has a theme, and then you have to decor and paint all this kind of stuff. It's a lot of work, but it's
Yeah.
the kids are excited about it because we get to scare people. Yay.
Yeah.
How many different ways can we think of torturing stuff? So we get into that internal macabre side that they don't get to express very
Hmm.
often.
Yeah. It's good they get
And
to express it there and not in public, like in
yeah,
other settings, right?
yeah. And if they want to be a jump scare actor, then they can audition for that, and then they can be one of the people that just loves getting people to scream inside the haunted house. And it's a place for them to actually, it's supposed to happen.
Yeah, yeah.
And we do a musical in the spring. We used to do it early in the spring, but after COVID, we just had to switch it to a later date for a multitude of reasons. And again, it's a time for my kids to be able to do all the building. The acting kids get to audition and be a part of the rehearsal process, the vocals kids, and all of that. And we also get kids from any public school can audition for our shows.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Oh,
that's part
wow.
of the Learning Center mission statement is that any public school student can be a part of the productions or
Ah,
part of the program. So we have kids that have come out from Y&I for previous
really?
shows.
Oh my gosh.
That was a
Wow,
long commute. But we've had
man.
Y&I, we've had Mililani. Usually, the last couple of years, particularly after COVID, it's been McKinley, Roosevelt, Kalani. Um, we've had some from IAEA lately. Castle sends kids over. So it's a the cast really gets to know a lot of kids from a different school. So it's
Yeah.
not just the Kaimuki Bulldogs. Okay, it's
Right,
all these
right.
other relationships that they get to form, and they get
Yeah.
pretty tight
That's
in an
awesome.
8-week program. So.
Hmm. So what's this semester's musical going to be?
The Adams Family.
Oh, okay, I haven't seen that one before.
MVT did it 6 or 7 years ago, maybe a little bit longer. Castle did it 4 or 5 years ago. Midpack just did it last semester up there. So it hasn't been done a lot on the island.
Hmm.
Um, we have a lot of, just looking at some of the kids that auditioned for Footloose last year, it seemed like a good fit for our demographics.
Ah,
And
okay.
one of my fortes is designing Gothic. So I'm looking forward to designing the Adams Family house. And I have Willie Sable in working with us right now. So the kids get to work with Willie, who is an incredible scenic artist and designer formerly from Diamond Head Theater.
Oh, wow. What a great
And I also
opportunity.
have Vince Liam coming in, and he's going to be TDing with us, and he's very good at architectural building. So they get to the kids who audition get to work with professionals, both
Hmm.
choreography, directing, vocals, and stage management. And then they get to work with Vince and Willie and myself on the design and the building of it.
I was gonna say maybe you could just reuse some of the haunted house stuff
Oh,
for
no worries.
that.
I'm one of the best recyclers around. You
That's
should see my back
incredible.
wall; it's just full of stuff.
Yeah. uh, but for that show, is it a so it's a musical, but when I watched the television show back in the black and white version, they had that
Yeah,
character Lurch with the super low voice. The is there going to be uh, a student that can hit that low of a voice?
we hope so. Yeah, we're going to auditions are today and tomorrow, so we're going to see
Oh,
what we
really?
have coming through the door. But
Oh
I
man,
know
what
that
timing?
there's a couple of kids I've seen that could potentially get to that low of a voice. Yeah, and my husband Robert is our sound engineer, and we can always tweak it with the
Oh,
sound.
that's right. Yeah. So you guys, I mean, you pretty much worked together on the majority of the projects over there because
Yeah,
he's doing sound.
I have a pretty tight production team. Nani Lisa Pasqua is our vocal director, and she's been with us at least 15, 17 years. Dwayne Sakaguchi is our director and choreographer, and he's one of our alumni. So
Mm.
he came
Oh,
through
that's
our
cool.
program. Let's see, who else do we got? Yeah, my husband has been, coerced into doing sound engineering for eons, just because he had to. And now he really enjoys it.
Oh, good.
And we have a lot of regulars who come in to work on our show. We have Samuel Tofolo, who's going to be doing hair and makeup, who's another one of our alumni this year.
Oh, neat. Yeah, I know Samuel very well. That'll be cool to see him get to do his thing there. How is it working with your husband, especially in this kind of? I imagine while it's creative, it's also stressful because especially like Tech Week and all that, everyone's kind of going nuts. How has it
Yeah,
been
like
for you, your marriage?
yeah. Well, luckily, when it gets to Tech Week, my job is mostly done.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so and we've worked out how to work with each other for a number of years because we do a lot of outside gigs and everything as well.
Hmm.
So I know where his strengths are. He knows where my strengths are, and we try not to tread on him.
What would you say for, because my wife and I, Jamie and I, we work together at our business. I'm always curious what, other people's, techniques or successes are. If you had one main important advice for working couples to, be able to coexist like how you guys have, what do you think is the most important thing for them to
Earphones,
know? What?
earphones. He has to wear earphones when he's working on the sound because if he keeps playing the music over and over again, yeah, I would do damage. I can't stand the repetition. But he's a night owl.
Yeah.
He does most of his sound stuff in the evenings to the night, and I'm a morning bird, so I'd go. So we separate in that regards.
Oh, that works out well.
Yeah. So as long as he's got the earphones when he's doing sound engineering, we're fine.
Yeah. So you've managed a way to work it out where you can not hear each other essentially. So
Yeah.
that's good. Yeah. Well, I'm really excited for this production because, I don't know what it is, but it seems that every um Kaimuki production that I've gone to has just been some of my most favorite shows that I've gone to, and I feel like there's something about the energy of the kids. You can tell that it means something to them, and it shows in their performance. But even in the way it's presented, it you can just see the intention and the energy behind it. And we go to major professional theaters and such, but there's just something about when I've gone to the different productions at Kaimuki that just you feel so good and just really enjoy it. And so to know that this is a show that not so many people have seen before, but
Mhm.
also one that you really this is your thing of goth designing. Like I'm really excited to see what the designs are going to come out to be. What kind of things, I guess, are you excited to showcase in this semester's show for people who haven't come by and checked out the theater?
Well, the one thing we've always been told about our kids when they're on stage in the performances is that they have the heart. They want to be out there, and
Yeah.
they really enjoy the action of the performance.
Yes.
Not to say anything bad about the Broadway performers or anything, but a lot of them have done it so much that it's just
Hmm.
become repetitive. And it's
Yeah.
just, we got a job. I'm going to go out and I'm going to do
Hmm.
this and I'm going to smile and yada, yada, and so forth. And they're at maybe 90% or something like that. Our
Hmm.
kids, you give them the opportunity and they're going to go out full throttle.
Yeah.
And they're going to just say, "This is the time I get to be acknowledged for everything that I can do, and I'm just going to go for it." You know,
Yeah.
so it's a different vibe. Once you get past that hump where they realize I can do this,
Hmm.
then they just take off.
Yeah.
Um, so it's always we're always waiting on that last week before it's like, okay, where is the cast going to get it? And then there's
Hmm.
something that clicks, and they just take off from that point. So you can't beat a kid who figures it out. They're just going to
Yeah.
give you full heart and soul, and they're just going to go out and have the best time that they possibly can have. And that's what some of the difference is when it comes
Hmm.
to adult professional world and a high school world.
Yeah. I've seen several performances of what is the one, Lin Manuel Miranda's
In the
first
Heights.
play in the Heights. Yeah, I think I've seen it done 4 times by different places, and I still hold that the Kaimuki version was my favorite one because I actually don't care for that show, but when I watched it, I was like, this is fantastic, and that's why I watched the other ones because I was like, I love that show, and then I every time I was like, it's not the same. It's not like how it was at Kaimuki.
Which I'm very happy to hear about. Um,
Yeah,
yeah, we got special kids.
yeah, you really do.
Kaimuki High School. I mean, I hate to say it, but we really don't have the best. The high school itself doesn't have the best reputation in town. Everybody
Mhm.
thinks it's a tough school and that the kids are all bad and all of this, but if you can get the kids, if you get them, they're going to do anything possible that they can for you. And
Wow, yeah.
for our shows, we expect a lot out of them, and we work them hard. I mean, they're in here, every day, singing, dancing, emoting character, and figuring things out, and sweating like crazy. Especially right now because our air conditioning's not working.
Oh no.
Yeah, hopefully it gets fixed soon. Um, but sometimes they just need that chance,
Hmm.
and they can just show the world that they can do it.
Yeah.
And you just want to, we can see that sometimes in the classes. It's like, there's this spark here, and then so they just get on stage and the spark just erupts into flame. Or when they're backstage and they figure out, who tech theater is cool, I like this, you know and that's kind of the whole heart about theater itself. It's a place of belonging. Anybody can be a part of theater, no matter your skill
Hmm.
sets. You don't have to be a super singer, actor, dancer. You can be behind the stage, and you can be changing the wardrobe, you can be working the light board, you can be working the flies. There's a place for anybody, and it doesn't care what your gender is, what your physical strength is, if you're handicapped or not, or what you look like or what you sound like. There's a place for everybody in theater, and
Yeah.
it's that inclusiveness that has always been a huge part. Where our kids come here, I mean, we've often said we're kind of a department of misfits, because this is where they come, and they know that they'll
Mm.
be accepted for no matter what it is that they do or have, or their limitations or whatever. And that's so much what theater in general is we don't look
Yeah.
at the surface things. We want the interior kid to come out.
What I love is just in seeing you talk about it, I can feel the passion and excitement, the joy that you get out of it, and it makes me want to like sign up for your class.
You're
It's
welcome to come
so
on
nice to see.
Sundays.
Oh yeah, what do you have on Sundays?
We have Sunday builds where we're building the scenery on Sundays. We haven't started that yet. That'll happen in a couple of weeks.
Oh cool. If so, is it just open to the community, or do people have to like call and sign up or things like
It's
that?
usually we open it up to the parents of the kids and the kids in the cast if they
Oh
want to
cool.
come in. There's
Hmm.
usually about 4 or 5 of us. You know, my husband, myself, and uh, sometimes Willie and Vince. We just come in for like 4 hours just to power out a bunch of stuff because
Yeah.
not like this. We need it takes the time. But sometimes the parents will come in and just to, oh, we can't do much, but we can paint. And it's like, okay, here, go paint this, and we
Yeah.
need to base paint all of this. So just here, go for it, kind of stuff, so that they get involved in everything. And
Yeah.
we also do a really awesome concessions. It's one of our biggest fundraisers, and a lot of the parents who may not be able to do that, they'll often will help me to bake stuff for the concessions.
Yeah, that's something that people don't realize is such a big deal. Like the experience of going to a show and getting to also, get the snacks and things like that. Like that's
Mhm.
part of the experience. And so you guys do it so great. And I remember like there's times when there's like chili, like they go all out and set up, the whole get up over there. So it's really impressive. You might as well just build a little kitchen out there.
I've tried.
Yeah.
I would like to be able to kind of make that more, but we can't do anything with the exterior of the building.
Right,
So we'll
right.
just set up and continue what we're doing. It's still working. Yeah. And now that I have Fence Line Bakery, at least all the bake stuff and that I do for the concessions out there, it's all
Hmm.
kosher and all of that.
Oh, good. And so I think the other thing I want people to understand is just how affordable it is to support and go and watch these shows because it's getting harder and harder, I think, for families to find, family activities that the whole family will enjoy. And this is one of them that throughout the history of time stands strong as something that's really great for the whole family to enjoy. And it's hard to find one that you can afford now. So to know that you guys
Yeah.
have such, so what are, just so that people know, what are the prices of tickets and how can they get them? Because I think that's the cool part too, is that you can support a really great program and it's affordable for your families.
Our ticket prices, we try to keep them down to the reasonable level just for that fact. We do
Yeah,
have to make sure that we can make costs for stuff,
of
though.
course.
So our adults are $15 for this show, and kids I think are going to be 10, as will senior citizens 65 and above. And we also do have an active military rate of $10. Those are our two fees and stuff.
Yeah.
And if they have a group of people that want to come, which we do sometimes have, it's like they can always call us up and we'll figure out a price range that'll work with the group. We've done that a number of
Oh,
times.
that's cool.
We want to make sure that it is affordable. I mean, it's so expensive. Even to go to the
Yeah.
movie theaters is
I
like
was gonna say
18
that.
bucks.
Yeah, this costs less than going to the movies.
Yeah. So we try to keep that in mind. We have to make our costs as well, but yeah,
Hmm.
keep it down to a reasonable expense.
Well, it's a beautiful, nice, large theater, so people have no excuse that they can't say that, oh, I couldn't find seats. You'll find great seats. I've sat in all of them, like there's not a bad seat in the house. Um,
No, not
and for
really.
15 10 15 bucks, like really fantastic. And so, will people buy tickets at the door? Is it available on a website? Where can people
Yeah,
find
we're going to be
tickets?
set. We're still setting up, but we should be able to have tickets purchased online at honoluluboxoffice.com. That'll probably
Okay.
be coming out in the next 2 or 3 weeks. And you can always buy at the door. The only thing about the door is I can only do cash.
Oh, okay.
The Department of Education frowns upon Venmo and PayPal and all of those other outside sources, and they won't let us
Ugh,
do that.
It'd be so much
So we,
easier.
yeah, but that's why we do Honolulu, and so we
Yeah.
have a way that if you come on Friday night and you don't have cash, you can buy a ticket for Saturday, but see the show on Friday.
Oh, okay. That's
You
a
know,
great workaround.
yeah, we just want you to come in and see the show.
Yeah,
The day
yeah,
doesn't matter.
yeah. Speaking of day,
Yeah.
when is the run of the show going to take place?
We open March 29th, and so that's Easter weekend.
Oh, okay.
So after on Sunday, after you've had your bunnies and your church service and all that kind of stuff, come on over to see a great show. It'll be at 3 o'clock on Sunday, Easter Sunday, and it's 7:30 on the Friday and Saturday, and then the following weekend in April, 6, 7, and 8, I think are the dates. And
Okay.
the last one will be another matinee at 3 o'clock.
Oh, fun.
But yeah,
Well,
we seat 655 in there, and we haven't sold out yet, even though we always hope to every year. But so we always got plenty of tickets at the door.
what's the show that has come the closest to selling out?
Unfortunately, Sound of Music.
Is that a slip there of what you really think
I
about
hate that show.
it?
I've designed
uh,
it like 4 times, and
oh wow.
I can't stand it anymore. But and that was the first show that I did here at Kaimuki,
Oh,
and I think we came really close to selling out the last weekend for that one. Our second biggest one was Rocky Horror Show.
oh really?
Yeah, we did that here about 10 years ago now. And once people figured out that we stayed true to the script,
Uh-huh.
then they started coming out in droves.
Oh.
So that was one of the second. I think that was the second most profitable ones.
Well, let's make this one the one that sells out. Let's,
Yes, that would be lovely.
yeah. Um, MJ, this has been really great getting to talk to you. And like I said, you've been involved for so long in theater, and theater means a lot to me. So just to get to kind of pick your brain and live through your experiences and see your passion and what you're doing for our kids in the schools. It truly is an honor to, have you here in Hawaii with us and doing this great work. So I appreciate you taking the time to come out here and hang out with me.
Oh, thanks. It's been great being able to be here with you.